So we are really interested to see how this is going to all turn out. But again, we don't know today whether Miya was alive when she left that apartment or whether she was deceased. And it's unfortunate that nobody can give us those answers. These answers are so very important for the family because it's hard to get closure. As you can imagine, this family drove in from Miami. You had individuals driving, coming down from Toronto, the Virgin Islands. We had individuals coming from all over, and sadly, they had to conduct their own investigation because no one would listen to them. Despite the pleas from the family, the thing that was most upsetting was this sheriff's deputy told the family on a Saturday, if you don't hear from Miya by Tuesday, call us back. And that is just totally unacceptable. So they wanted the family to sit in the hotel room and wait to see if they were going to hear back from Miya on Tuesday before they do something about it. And it just should not be like that. It is not proper protocol. Despite the sheriff representing that they did not have reasonable suspicion or probable cause to detain this individual, I highly dispute that. There was enough information that was given by this family where they could have detained this individual. They could have taken him down for questions. And I think if you see, watching the video, the questions that the family was asking him, they basically had this guy about to say something. So imagine if you had trained professionals asking him that question. So for 7 days, this family, 7 to 8 days, this family had to go through pain that they would never be able to get rid of because so many people dropped the ball. If management from the Arden Villas would have come to this apartment complex when the family reached out and called them, if someone would have come out at 3 o'clock in the morning and checked that key fob, we would have known immediately that that individual had been in Miya's apartment. So they would have had, at that point, they would have had probable cause to arrest him. So again, this was not taken serious at all. And we know, based on statements that have been given to us, that the sheriff deputy who was at the scene said clearly that this case is not a priority to us. We asked the question again, did he say that? And they were clear that he said that this case was not a priority. They asked him, did you dust the facilities, the apartment, for fingerprints? They didn't do that. They didn't do anything that you would do in a basic investigation. And when this security guard did the things that these sheriff deputies should be doing, they simply laughed at him. And they did not even take the fingerprints that he had gotten off the windows for them. So again, I think you are going to learn over the next few days or next few weeks, there is more to this story. There is no one in Orlando who could stand up with a clear face and say that they know for a fact that there was only one individual involved in the disappearance of Miya. Nobody knows this. We don't know if this was some type of activity that's been going on around Orlando for quite some time. That's why it was so important to detain this individual and not allow him to commit suicide. So we're going to take a few questions at this time.
There will obviously be no trial. What does justice look like for Miya?
Justice for Miya, it's going to require that the sheriff's department takes accountability. They need to take full accountability. I think the sheriff needs to come up, he needs to look at that video, and he needs to compare that video to everything that he learned about that morning and see if there are inconsistencies. And I think if there are inconsistencies, I think the sheriff owes it to people of Orlando to tell the truth. I know watching that interview just a short moment ago, he could not say whether what those officers or the deputies did was proper. All he can say was that we need to conduct the further investigation. So again, I think that would be justice. Justice for Miya and the family would be having laws changed. You heard us talk about the Miya's Law. I mean, these students that are out protesting right now should be studying. They should be focusing on college life. They should be getting ready for a football game this weekend. But instead, they are out there demanding change. So when we see those type of change, then we will see some type of justice. But the only justice truly that this family can get for Miya is if Miya was gone home with them. That's the only justice that they can ever get.
Daryl, you saw with this investigation, the family is repeatedly saying, look in the car. In the hour of the day this gentleman was here, there were so many outliers of why this person should have at least been detained. In your legal opinion, did the sheriff's office miss the mark? Should he have called a supervisor? Is that the protocol? Because it seems like there were more than enough outliers to make a detention there.
At a minimum, a supervisor should have been called. One of the things, and we have not been able to confirm, but one of the things that we have heard is that those early morning shifts are the time of the morning when they put their most inexperienced deputies on the job. So based on that, there should have been a supervisor who should have been called. It's no question. When you saw that the door had something blocking the entry, that was enough. I mean, that is just not common. She's missing. We've already said that Mia's missing, and now you see that there's a dresser that's blocking the entrance to that room. What more do you need? I mean, they had everything that they need to know that this was a crime scene.
Do you foresee filing a lawsuit against the sheriff's office, the apartment, and how forthcoming do you think that legal action could be?
Well, I will tell you, and as we've always said from day one, everybody that had played a part in Mia's death are going to be held responsible.
And how forthcoming? When do you think, a time scale on when you think that those filings could be made?
I mean, it could be very soon, but again, we've said early on that our focus right now is on Miya. Our focus is having the family to properly grieve. And that's the focus. This week is going to be about Miya and the family. And that's always been the #1 priority.
The timeline says, according to the sheriff's office, that after the family spotted that blanket when he went into the apartment, it says Castleberry PD stands by while Mia's family looks through the apartment with his permission. Which is fairly extraordinary. Did he react to them? Did they find? I guess they didn't find what they had just seen him with. Any ideas how that all transpired then after that?
I mean, it's very clear, and again, he knew at this point that the family had been questioning him, and they knew where he lived, etc. So if he invites them in, he's inviting them in because he knows that all the evidence that he had was no longer there. So again, in these type of investigations, every second matters. And the time that they needed, they just basically dropped the ball.
Do you have any solid proof or evidence or tips that there is somebody else involved?
What I do have solid evidence of, I don't know if someone else is involved. I don't think the sheriff knows if someone else is involved, but I do know that there are so many questions. When I walk into the apartment for myself and just looked at the window and looked how high it is off the ground, it's a lot of things that gives you some pause. I do know, based on some conversations, that he was with a couple of individuals during the day. So again, we don't know, but we're hoping that somehow we do find those answers. But this investigation should be far from over.
Have they given you any indication what may have happened to her? Have they talked to the family about anything that they think may have happened to her after she left?
Honestly, we wish that's just something that we wish we did know, but we don't have those type of details.
At some point, did they close the case and reopen it?
Well, from what we understood is that, or what I understood when I heard the sheriff's first press conference, is basically that he said that nobody else was involved. So to make that comment tells me that the investigation was over. Now I'm hearing something totally different. I'm hearing now that they're going to continue with the investigation to find out what happened.
Do you have any details about what they found on the second crime scene 3 miles from here?
No, I don't have
How they found the body. How was the situation there?
I have not gotten those details yet. Again, they haven't given us all the specifics about what was found.
Daryl, I know a lot's happened in the last few hours here, but also when we met yesterday, you talked about possible litigation against Arden Villas. Have you had a chance to look at a copy of Mia's lease? Because there are a lot of outliers in that lease about security protocols and measures here, and just wondering if that's something you've had a chance to look at. I know your protesters are out here. How do you guys proceed with knowing what the lease says?
Well, again, the lease is deflection. What they've given to the media is total deflection. They're focusing on security. Our focus is on this guy having access to that key fob. So that's totally separate from the security issues. We agree that there are major security issues in this complex, but we need to see the provision. What we want to see is the policy on dealing with that key fob, not the security issues, although that is very important, and that's what we need to see.
Do you think the scene was contaminated because they don't continue with the procedures of the sheriff?
It's clear that the scene was contaminated when they allowed the roommate to go inside of the apartment from that window to open the door. That should have never happened. What if there was still someone in that apartment? The roommate could have been harmed. When the deputies saw that that door was barricaded, there's no reason why he should allow that young lady to go into the apartment. He put her life in danger. So that just tells you how poorly this entire investigation was done. I mean, I need to know what police protocol would authorize them to allow a young girl to go into an apartment when you see a door barricaded. What would allow that? Why didn't the deputy do that? Or why didn't he call somebody out to the scene immediately to say that this door is barricaded? I don't know if somebody else is in here. We need to get somebody out here immediately. That was not done. And the reason why it was not done, because as he told the security officer, this was not top priority.
Have you asked to see the body camera video of that response when police showed up the first time?
We don't know if they had a body cam video. I'm not sure if there even one. That's one of the things that we are requesting, whether there was body cam video, whether there was some type of dash cam video in his vehicle. We don't know.
And I'm assuming this is Mia's teddy bear.
The medical examiner office, have they told you when you will have a final result? Tell you what happened.
We have not gotten any answer as to when we're going to have a final result. Obviously, you know, because Miya was left out for so long, this is just not the ordinary autopsy that they had to conduct, so things are taking just a little longer than they ordinarily would.
The family is here. Do any of them want to speak to us at all?
No.
What's the next step?
I mean, again, as we said earlier, the family is going to be grieving, continually grieving. We're focused now on the funeral for Miya. That is what is most important. The family is already starting a foundation in Miya's honor. And I think that is going to be something that you're going to hear about. That's going to be very important for the family because they want to make sure that nobody ever has to go through what they experience. They're going to be looking at changes to how apartment complexes deal with key fobs. Also, they're going to be looking at procedures, how law enforcement officers deal with the investigation of a missing person. I think this is something that has been swept under the rug for so very long, and sadly, you see the support system that's here today. Think about the people who go missing who don't have that support system. Sadly, they just become a statistic. So the family has decided that they don't want Miya's death to be in vain. Sadly, it took the loss of Miya to bring attention to a very huge issue. I cannot tell you how many people who have contacted us over the last couple of days who said they had the very same experience at the Arden Villas. There's several individuals had an experience with him at the prior apartment complex that he was working at. So this is something that's not only going on in Orlando, this is something that's going on throughout the country, and it just simply has to change.
In the video, he makes the comment, Caballero, if I was guilty, I wouldn't come out here, or something to that effect. Was the family who was on the scene surprised that he used the word guilty? Did that set off an alarm bell to anyone?
I mean, the way we explained it, and I talked to the family about this, I asked them, how did they know this guy had something to do with it? And honestly, the best way we were able to explain is that Miya was inside of them. I mean, you look at a city as large as Orlando and all the people around, how would you know? And I mean, they just had that parent instinct, that intuition that this guy had something to do with it. And just from his question, I mean, the father was asking questions and he knew that something was not right. And that is the thing that is so upsetting to the family, that they were able to get this information and the sheriff's deputies refused to take the information that they did. A family should not have to do their own investigation when deputies are being paid to do that.
Have you guys obtained any information on how many text messages he had sent her in the time that they knew each other?
We have not gotten that information at all. So again, what we can tell you, and we have spoken to a number of individuals, this was something that was constant, that she was not interested in him. Employees of the complex knew this, and that he acted inappropriate. So that was something should have been done about that. And that's our position. He should have not been there. But again, they were co-workers. They knew each other. But again, she had absolutely nothing to do with him and didn't want to have anything to do with him. And sadly, whenever a lady says no, it should not result in her dying.
How would you describe Arden Villa's willingness to communicate with you in this present time?
There's been no willingness. I will tell you, in my over 20 years of practice, I have never seen anything like this ever. I've been a part of some of the most egregious situations that ever happened. And victims' families, police departments, they have all reached out to the family and offered their condolences. Miya was an employee at the Arden Villas. She was an employee, so more than anybody, they should have reached out to the family and offered their condolences. When the family tried to call and say that Miya was missing, an employee, they should have been out at the Arden Villas with the family, assisting the family, and that didn't happen. And it's sad that they are making millions of dollars off of these young students, and these young students to the Arden Villa is nothing more than $1. And it's sad that these students have to pay to live in fear, and this is what is happening. And I think what Miya's death has done, it has given a lot of students the courage to step up, because I think many of them thought that this was just the norm, that it's okay for a maintenance person to come into my apartment unauthorized. And when they saw what happened to Miya, they are now realizing that this could have easily been them. And they're saying enough is enough. So I totally applaud the students, the tenants who are coming out here and asking for some protection, because again, this should not be happening. I think ladies, young ladies, women need more protection.
And Daryl, with the family, is the family going to stay here in Orlando? I know you were saying the funeral's next week. Is the family now going to start heading back to South Florida? They can stay with the body?
The family is going to be heading back. Just to tell you just a little bit about the family wanted to be here to offer their support to the tenants of the Arden Villas. This is the only reason that the family is still here right now, but the family is going to be gone back. So, all right.
The autopsy, have you heard about when did she die? What time?
We haven't all that still. We have not gotten all that detail at all. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.